So, Edge of 17 is pretty much the same all the way through. What's going to be the challenge with this one is the alternate picking side of things. So this lesson is going to be more a lesson about alternate picking technique and how you can improve it. This song only has 3 chords. It's basically based around an E minor, a C major, and a D major. But for a lot of it, the guitar is just palm muting the root note. So I'm going to talk a bit about alternate picking technique then. So, few fundamental principles that you need to get right here. The first thing is holding your plectrum right. There are a couple of main ways I've seen people hold their plectrums. So, but the general rule is between your index finger and your thumb. I personally hold mine like this. So if you were to hold your picking hand up, and basically all that I do is just take my index finger to meet my thumb, and then my plectrum goes sort of on its side in that gap. Don't think you can really see that because it's quite a dark plectrum. So basically my hand is like this when I'm playing. So all that's really changed position is my index finger, which means it's very comfortable. The key thing with alternate picking, in case you didn't know this already, in terms of holding your plectrum, is you got to make sure that your plectrum is slicing the strings. So when people use the term plucking the strings, that's a completely, in my opinion at least, that's a completely incorrect term, because plucking the strings implies that you're going like this. So you're taking the plectrum and like forcing it against the string to sort of build up energy and then releasing it. That's what a pluck is. But we don't do that when we play guitar. What we do is we angle the plectrum either by tipping it this way, like downwards, or by turning it on its side like this. It's really hard to see that, isn't it? Sorry. But turning it on the diagonal like that and slicing across the strings. And that is what we do when we alternate pick. So the plectrum isn't front on with the strings. It's turned on a 45-degree angle. And it slices across. It's very hard to see that with this, but it's not, can you see, it's not front on. It's diagonally like that. And that allows your plectrum to slice over the top of the string, and you don't get anything like this where like your plectrum will get, if you go front on, you get caught. It's really hard to keep it going. In the context of this song, because you're going to be doing it for quite a while, this is very important. You must stay completely relaxed in your wrist area when you're alternate picking, because otherwise it will hurt. And if you're tense as well, you're in less control. So what you need to do, I'm going to roll my sleeve up for this bit so you can see a bit better. I want you to pay very close attention to my forearm when I'm playing this. My forearm doesn't move at all. My forearm is completely stationary. I actually get the majority of my forearm is flat to the guitar. So if your picking technique is generally what I've been doing with quite a few of my private students recently when we're looking at their picking technique is we try to get, and it's probably good because this is palm muted, but the sort of position that you get into when you palm mute the guitar needs to be very similar to your picking technique when you're playing the guitar normally. So what I mean by that is, what a lot of people do is they'll pick like with maybe their arm out here and with their hand quite far over the strings, and they'll play quite far away from the bridge. And then when it's time to palm mute, they have to go like this. So now obviously there's nothing wrong with playing over here for certain things if you can get back, but what is a better style of picking is something like that. So you're, all I'm doing here is I'm turning, not moving my forearm, just turning my wrist into the strings, and the only thing that's different about my picking technique when I switch to palm muting is that my palm goes down. So I want you to try and practice doing that. So you've got your, you know, you can do it over a chord or something, anything you want really. You could even do it over a single note. So your right hand technique is virtually identical between your palm muting and your, because your palm muting, what it does is it makes you ground your hand, your forearm. You can't move your forearm when you're palm muting unless you go like, but it's extremely difficult. It makes you keep your, makes you play from the wrist, and you should play from the wrist even if you're not palm muting, if that makes sense. So it's a, you know, switching back and forth from the, you don't want to be like this. Or something like that, you know, you don't want it to feel completely different. And yeah, having your hand quite close to the bridge when you're picking, I find, is a good, you know, and then maybe the sort of bony bit of your hand rests at the sort of top corner around here of the bridge. And I suppose this is quite a good one to practice in as far as alternate picking is concerned, because we don't have to do much with our left hand and we can just focus on the left hand. So again, yeah, so similar sort of technique to what we're talking about here. You've got to palm mute the A string, and when I pick like that, as I say, I'm relaxed, my plectrum is on an angle and it's slicing through the strings. Practice this slowly to a metronome first, would be, or like just even not to a metronome, just slowly build up the speed. And if you start to feel your wrist tensing up, stop, because what you need to do, even if you feel like you're going to have less control maybe at first, you've just got to get your hands used to how it feels going fast but relaxed, if that makes sense. If you're getting to a certain speed and you're tensing up, that's where you need to practice. Basically, that is the point at the speed where you need to practice, where it's starting to feel tense. Because I promise you, if you do it enough, you know that at that point where it feels maybe slightly uncomfortable, but you focus very hard on relaxing, eventually your muscles will be able to do it while feeling relaxed, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to talk through the sections of the song now. The intro is literally just that for 4 bars. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. So that was the verse that I just played there. So it's the same thing, but obviously you've got 1 bar of 3, 1 bar of 5, 1 bar and 2 bars of 7. What's confusing about this song structure-wise, that you've got to be very, very careful with, and we'll go through this quite a lot in the lessons, is there will be times in this song where you're going to play what I've tabbed as, well, what I would say is the chorus part for the guitar, over the verse, and then there's going to be times where your verse part is going to be the chorus. So, but I suppose generally it doesn't matter too much if you get them wrong, because they are exactly the same chords, but they're just played in different ways. So the chorus is like... So that's just a C power chord, 3 and 5, then D power chord, and then 2 bars of 7. So just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing, ooh baby, ooh, said ooh. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing, ooh baby, ooh, said ooh. There'll be times where we play that chorus part and it'll almost be like vocally acting like a pre-chorus, so Stevie Nicks isn't actually singing the same. But obviously there are times in this song where we go like, you know, I sing that, where she sings that chorus sort of vocal part that I just sang. It'll happen over the verse and the chorus, so it does get a bit confusing. You've just got to, we're just going to have to practice and just get as used to the structure of this song as possible. So the middle 8. So the middle 8 is literally just this for 8 bars, which I know that is epically long and a bit boring. The bridge is this for 4 bars, so I'm going to play it through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Then this for 4 bars. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Then back to 7 for 4 bars. 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. And then it's this for 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8. And then it's back to the intro, which is this for 4 bars. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Ooh, baby, ooh, said ooh. So yeah, a lot of alternate picking basically. It is, even for me to tell you the tell you the God's honest truth, I find it quite tricky doing that entire song, keeping a relaxed wrist. But what keeps me sort of going through it is just recognising that moments where I am tensing up and just backing off a little bit. And yeah, I understand that might be quite difficult at first for you guys, but just, you know, as I say, just listen to my tips and techniques for alternate picking, and it's a good opportunity to practice it, you know, because they always say in all the video lessons for this, they always say practice on one string first. Oh yes, and another thing that is a good tip, by the way, for alternate picking, in terms of the plectrum that you use, the general rule that people say with this, to be honest, is to try to use a plectrum that stays rigid. And if that works for you, then great. But actually, I use a plectrum that's a bit thinner. I use a 0.88 one. I don't know why I use a 0.88. I wish I could really explain, but it does just make me keep my hand more relaxed. And the one thing that I've found that it really does is it just sort of it makes me, for some reason, I suppose because it's slightly floppier, it makes me not hold the plectrum with much plectrum showing at all. Like I literally have the tiniest bit poking out, because when you're picking the string, like this. You want to be moving as ergonomically as possible, and the fact is you really don't need to move very far away from the string. You want to be like picking and literally probably only going about a millimetre away from the string either side. Maybe a couple. So yeah, maybe try experimenting with different plectrum types. 90% of guitar teachers and like shreddy guys say that using a plectrum that is rigid is better. I personally don't actually do that, but I've got, you know, I would try this out with lots of different picks and find the one that makes your hands stay the most relaxed and that you got the most control with. So yeah, happy practicing, I guess, and I will see you guys on Thursday.